All right, welcome back to my second TouchDesigner tutorial. Today we're going to be making this kind of noisy starry night with this alien kaleidoscope looking thing. It's a super beginner friendly network. We're mostly working in tops in this product, so super doable, I think. We're going to be splitting this kind of into two different end goals, one being this starry, noisy design, and then the second one is like this more colorful pixel art-esque alien thing. So yeah, without further ado, I'm going to delete everything and we're going to get started. And no one call out the fact that I am wearing Christmas pajamas. It is March and I do not care. Okay, we're gonna start with a sphere sop. And once again, I'm going to start building networks and then work backwards with parameters. So we're going to do a noise from the sphere sop. We're going to add, one second. From here, we're going to add a null. We're going to add a sop2 chop and make sure to right click to be able to get this. Otherwise you won't be able to add it. And then from the sop2 chop, we're going to right click again right here. Oopsie daisies. My goodness. And we're going to get a chop to top. Nice. So on our sphere, we can leave it as default parameters. For our noise, what we're going to want to do is set our period to be 6.2, and we're going to want our amplitude to be 10. I'm not sure if this is necessary, but when I originally made this, I had my noise set to harmonic summation. I think it should work fine also if you're on sparse. I'm not sure how CPU dependent they are, but for the sake of just following what I did, I'm going to put it on harmonic summation. Cool. So for the SOP2, we have a lot of different attributes that we can get from this SOP and turn into chops, but for right now, we're just going to stick with only our X and Y, XYZ data, and we can come back to that later to get different stuff. And for our chop2, the only thing we're going to change here is we're going to do fit to square and combine sets. So I believe what's happening is we're taking all three of these channels and we're converting them only into red pixel values, I believe. I'm sorry, I'm not super knowledgeable about this. But yeah, so we're turning this just into the R value, shall we say. Nice. So that's pretty much our base for what we're going to be working with. Now we'll kind of get into the post-processing. From here, we're going to add a null, just for safekeeping. We're going to right-click and add a displace. We're going to add a lookup. We're going to add a level. We're going to add a null. And then lastly, we're going to add a fit. Cool. So from here, I want to go ahead and place both of these into the displace, so the noise is displacing itself. And right away we can kind of see this effect, the star bright effect, but we're not quite there yet. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add a noise top. We're going to plug this into the lookup, and actually, let me not do that first. We're going to set our resolution to be 5:1. And we're going to set our period to be 0 and our offset to also be 0. And we're going to plug this into here. So this is definitely more of the look that we're going for. And originally what I was trying to do is I wanted to color this noise with this color, like if I did monochrome and color this noise. I think the reason that that wasn't working is because my pixel format originally from this chop2 is by default, I believe, set to 32-bit float mono. So if I did RBA, we'd just get a different look. But anyway, this also looks nice. So we're just gonna continue with this here. Yeah. Okay. So now that we've got to this kind of look, I want to actually do a quick thing. I'm going to split my screen with this button, go down here and click on Top Viewer. We're going to right click on our background and set our display to exclude backdrop top. So we're going to turn this off, and then we're going to go to our fit top and turn this on, so we can see what we're doing nice and clear. Awesome. So now that we've finished our lookup shenanigans, we're going to go to our level. We're going to go under our pre-tab, turn our contrast up to 2.26. And we have this cooler, more line constellation look. I would advise you to mess around with the brightness and see what kind of version of this you want. Me personally, I found two that I liked. I found 0.98, this constellation-esque, and we have 1.41, which I also like, more the typical star look. So to get both of those, what we're going to do is we're going to add an LFO. So we're going to add an LFO chop. We're going to set the frequency to be 0.1, and we're going to set our type of LFO to be a square wave. So we're just doing an on-off LFO. From here, we're going to add a math. We're going to set our range to be -1 to 1, because we're going from -1 to 1. And then we want to put in our two values that we liked. So I'm going to put in 0.98, and I'm going to put in 1.41. Awesome. And then from here, we're just going to add a null. And we're going to make this null viewer active. We're going to go to our level and drag this onto our brightness. So now every couple of seconds, we'll switch between this liney and more starry noise. Nice. And the last thing I'm going to do for our stars is set our fit to be fill. And then we're going to set our resolution. Personally, I think 1000 by 1000 is fine. But with this, you can now set it to be whatever, and it will work. I had this issue a little bit earlier. So this is just nice and housekeeping. Yeah, so that's pretty much all you need to do for this starry look. If you like this, you can also just select all of these, and in the background, select collapse selected, and then you can save this just as kind of a default background noise. So if I add like an out right here and go here, I can just save this as a default, what is this called? Container, sorry. And then just use this whenever I see fit. And I actually haven't done that, so I think, oopsie daisies. I clicked the wrong button and it messed everything up. Yeah, I'm actually going to do that right now because I haven't. So I'm just gonna put this in tops and put this as star, oopsie daisies, star bright noise. This, I don't, maybe this is like very subjective and not relatable, but this reminds me of like the Mario Party minigame on the DS where you had to like tap all the stars. Does anyone know what I'm talking about? Wait, hold on. This is the vibe. This is what I think of when I made this. So I don't know why I shared this with you guys, but this is like, okay. Moving back to TouchDesigner, let me get this out of the way. So we finished with our stars. I'm going to undo all of this so we just get our network back. Cool. So what I'm going to go ahead and do just for right now is I'm going to just, first of all, close this. And then I'm just going to add a comp all the way over here and just let it sit over there for a little bit. And yeah, cool. So now we're going to move on to this kind of kaleidoscope alien colorful noise thing, pixel, whatever. And we're going to do that also working from this original SOP2. So we're going to add a SOP2 chop by right-clicking on the end of the SOP2, and we're going to add this here. So yeah, once again, we're greeted with this line. We're going to, first of all, do fit to square. So we have a nice square, and then we're going to set our data format to be RGB. Everything else should be fine. I'm going to add a mirror here. And I'm going to set the rotate to be 90 degrees. That's not what I asked for. There we go. Nice and symmetrical. We're going to add, I'm going to add a bunch of stuff and work backwards. Yeah, so we're going to add a we're going to add a composite right here. We're going to add another composite right here. And then we're going to add a rectangle, not a rectangle. Yes, and then we're going to add an edge right here. And we're going to put this rectangle into the comp, and we're going to put this edge into this comp. So, looks a little bit messy. I'll explain what we're doing. First, we're going to go to our rectangle and set our resolution to be whatever it is that we set earlier. I said minus 1000 by 1000, and I'm then going to put our size. I'm going to click and hold so this menu comes up, and then move 2 to the left so we get 0.3 on both our X and our Y value. And our first composite should already be set to multiply, so we're getting like a small little glimpse of this mirror thing. And our second comp we should now set to addition, and that way we get kind of like a outline of our thing. For the time being, I'm actually going to disable this comp. It's really a preference thing. If you like this line outline, go for it. But for right now, I'm just going to have it disabled. From here, I'm going to add an HSV adjust. This is also very much a preference thing, but I think it's a bit too bright. So I'm going to have my value multiplier be 0.31, and everything else should be exactly the same. And yeah, this is the base for our kind of kaleidoscope-esque thing. We're going to move on to the feedback loop, which is going to create a lot of the kind of pixel art-esque effects. So let me go ahead and set up this feedback loop, and then we'll get started with parameters. So I'm going to add a feedback, obviously. We're going to add a transform. We're going to add a limit, and we're going to add a level. We're going to add a comp right here. Boop. And then we're going to drag our null all the way back to our comp. And we're going to add a null towards the end of our feedback loop. And I'm going to make this null viewer active so we can see what we are doing. If this menu ever comes up, by the way, at the bottom left, oh, you can't see it. My camera's covering it. Just press O to get rid of it. Anyway, we're going to drag our comp onto our feedback so that we're sending our signal back into the loop. And then we're going to, let's actually start over here. Yeah. So we're going to go to our transform. We're going to turn our translate value into pixels, and I put a translate of 1 and then also 0.3. So 1.3 on both of those. We're going to set our rotate to be 300. And we're going to be done, I think. Actually, let me turn on our comp operation so you can kind of see what we're doing. We're going to set our operation to addition. And then I guess we should go back. Wow, this is a very fucked order. I'm very sorry. We're going to go to our level, and set our post opacity to be 0.658. Nice. So without this transform, if I just set these back to 0 again, nothing changes. Maybe this is just something that I added and just thought would do something, but I guess the main effect is coming from this rotate. So yeah, I just set this at negative, or I just set this at positive 300 and translated it because why the hell not? Cool. So the next thing in our feedback loop is this limit. I have to be a bit honest with you all. I'm not exactly sure, like I kind of understand how a limit works, but not really. I understand that it limits the pixel value between a certain range. Don't know what that really does. So I'm going to be doing a lot of things to this limit, or a fair few things. Some of them may not actually have any effect. We're just going to do them anyway. Feel free to explore. So I'm going to be setting my limit type maximum to clamp. And then I'm going to go to our quantize page. We're going to set our quantize value to ceiling. And we're going to set our value offset into 0.56. Nice. So now we kind of get like this watercolory effect. I don't know if you can see. So if I take this off, it's very like static kaleidoscope, but now we have like these almost like bleeding dye kind of effect. I think it looks super rad. We're gonna turn on our quantize position and also set this to ceiling. And now what we're going to do is we're going to set our position offset to negative 0.39. And the next thing we're going to do to create kind of that sweeping motion that we had earlier is we're going to create an LFO. So originally I kind of just saw this and was messing with it and I was like, this is cool. So we're just going to automate this back and forth to get to that effect. So we're going to start with an LFO chop. We're going to keep it as a sine wave because we want it to sweep through everything. And we want our frequency to be 0.5. That seems very high. Okay, I think it's supposed to be 0.05. Yeah, that seems more right. We're going to go to our math, or sorry, we're going to add a math and then go to it. We're going to set our range to be from -1 to 1. And we're going to set our to range to be from 0.0. I am not typing anywhere. What? What happened? Oh. I want to set our to range to be 0.0001. And we're going to set our end of the to range to be 0.9. Nice. And then we're going to add a null onto here and make this viewer active. And we're going to assign this onto our position step. So now when it's like super zoomed out, we get like our 4 pixels kind of taking up this entire screen. And then as it closes back in, we get this pixelized version of our feedback. And I think that looks pretty nice. Cool. So now that we've finished this, there's only one thing left for us to do. That's to add them together. Because we have all this background space, I think it's better just to use an over. So we already have our first input, and we're going to set this over our start input. And we're going to set this to be viewer active. And my inputs are wrong, so we're going to do this. And as you can see, we still haven't set our pixel value to be the correct kind of format so that we can actually see. So we're going to change our pixel format on this comp to be 32-bit float RGBA. And there we go. We have our sci-fi glitchy star kaleidoscope effect. And what's super nice is like when the feedback is zoomed out, it kind of colors the stars around it a little bit too, which I think is super neat. So I'm just going to add a null to the end and an out because I'd like to be safe. And yeah, I mean, this is the effect that we're going for. If I just perform this, it is nowhere to be seen. So that's super great. Thank you, computer. But if I just perform this, we have our beautiful effect right here. I think it looks super nice. I think this would definitely look better if it was projected versus on a screen. But regardless, that's the effect. So thank you very much for watching my tutorial. I'm going to be adding more of them onto this channel instead of the other one, just to keep it consistent. I had that channel earlier and I just wasn't using it, but I think it'd be nice to just have a separate channel for TouchDesigner stuff. So if you enjoyed, please let me know in the comments. Your feedback is always appreciated. I'm also learning. So if there's anything inefficient or misinformation that I may have shared, let me know. And I hope to see you in the next one soon. Goodbye. Okay. I'm very sorry. I'm very dumb. I'm just going to start over.